Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be showing you how to fly the Skycrane. Again, a little while ago we had a little issue where basically my screen capture software grabbed onto that lovely checklist for most of the flight. That didn't help us very much. So here we are again, and of course I know we're in lovely Connecticut. This is the headquarters of Command Helicopter. Your brain immediately goes, whoa, 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 my friend. This is Pratt & Whitney Helicopter. No, it's not. It's Erickson. Then the interesting thing here, of course, is for those of you familiar with the Skycrane, this basically was an aircraft where they were flying for Sikorsky and they traded it off and they had a bunch of people who bought it. And the next thing you know, here we are, and these things are just untouchable. Now, when it comes to helicopters, my brain sees more of Gary's Mod than it sees of, sophisticated helicopter construction or anything along those lines. But for those of you who have had a chance to fly this thing, and especially try it in VR, it is an impressive helicopter. And I mean, just look at this. There's a person who's got their own seat that faces downwards in this thing. I mean, like, how awesome is that? So with that all taken care of, and again, all we had to do is get rid of the chocks real quick. Let's go ahead and climb inside. Now, the office on this thing is interesting because this is definitely a modern helicopter. I know it looks like an old helicopter, and the way that the poles and, again, not a lot of body work is the best way to say it, suggests otherwise. But this thing really is modern, and it handles well, and it handles smoothly. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by looking up above my head here. One of the things I love is they actually did this correctly. Thank you for getting that right. But more importantly, while we're up here, a couple little things we're going to go ahead and set real fast. And popping up over to this corner, we're going to start with a couple lights. We got our position lights. We have, of course, our anti-collision lights to let everybody know around us. We're going to make sure our fuel is open, which it is. Looks good to me. We have an APP. They call it the Auxiliary Power Plant, which I think is pretty cool because my brain says APU. But again, it's a little bit different. We also have a couple extra systems over here, too. Again, if we needed like a backup pump and things like that, if we had to move fuel around, we definitely could. I have a new appreciation for that, by the way, but that's a story for another day. So swinging down here, of course, we have all of our electrical systems. It's relatively straightforward to get the party started here. We're going to start by hitting the battery. You're going to get a bunch of angry warnings. Engine fail. And you'll hear that 100 times. With that one turned on, we just go straight across. Generators come on. Rectifiers come on. We're going to leave ignition off for now, and the inverter comes on. Now, the book says we're supposed to start with external power if it is available. There's nothing obvious that tells me that external power is working right now. So it's just kind of one of those things where I'm like, well, that's nice and all. Another thing we want to think about, too, while we're kind of getting the party started, is we're going to turn on the avionics master. That's just going to give us all the critical instrumentation that we're going to need. And we're running off the battery pretty hard right now, so we just have to be kind of mindful of that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run up here and get the APP started. Very easy to do. Master switch first, starts position, start on, and all we're going to do is press the app start button. What we're looking for here is about 40% RPM. Once we get to that point, we're just going to come over here to the fuel start switch, and all we do is we basically snap that over to the main position. Click, just like that. And once it's on the main position, that APP is going to boost up, and basically it's going to give us that extra little bit of a get up and go that we're going to need to get this big thing started. Now, the cool thing with this helicopter, which I really love, other than the fact it can basically pick up a house and fly away with it, is the fact that you have the ability to basically run both engines at the same time. So now that that party's started, we're going to get some fuel pumpage on. So the way this works is kind of interesting. You're supposed to turn these two on, cross-feed, turn these two on, cross-feed off. I just find that kind of an interesting little procedural piece there. I don't know. I just find that interesting, I guess. Maybe it's just me. So with that party started, we're now ready to actually get this thing going. This thing's got a really cool little process here. And again, a lot of it's automatic to make our life simpler. So swinging up here, you'll notice we have these two big old switches here. These are kind of our RPM levers, if you think about it. And the start button is buried back here to make our life a little bit more miserable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to float down here, pop the two ignition switches on. That'll get that party started. What we're going to do is we're just going to take this switch, put it into ground idle, and then press the starter. Let me show you. Ground idle. Starter. Ground idle. Oop, it helps if I can hit the button. Starter. By the way, when we're doing this, double check to make sure your rotor brake is not engaged. There's a switch for that right here. That'd be very embarrassing if you try to start this. I'll let you listen to the cacophony here.
Engine 1, failure. Engine 1, failure. Engine 1, failure. Engine 1.
Who knew? So with those two started, again, you can take a look here. It looks like we're having a bad start into engine 2 there. So I'm just going to go ahead and give it a little bit of encouragement there, just to make sure it's good. Just double check to make sure igniters are set and things like that. That's usually the most common reason why those guys do not start. There it goes. I just shut the fuel off and turned it back on again in that size. And it looks like it's catching just fine now. Order of operations, but we can see that it's starting, and I can let you enjoy the sound.
Engine 2, failure. Engine 2 failure.
And we're good. Hydraulic pressures have all come up correctly. Temperatures are starting to come up smoothly. I love how it has an EPR gauge on it. I get a kick out of that. And of course, we can reset all of our masters. With everything running smoothly here, we can go ahead and get rid of our APP. My APP man here. Easy way to do that is to come up here, APP stop. We're going to set this to the start position, shut the master off. This thing's now good to go. It has served its purpose quite nicely for us, so I'm not going to stress about that too much. Hoist looks good, cargo release is good, everything's good. Cable shear, GPS, I like how we have more than one. We have a little warning here, just give me a heads up saying, hey, you forgot to shut off external power. We'll go ahead and disable that. It's going to tell us our parking brake is on and our pitot heats are not, so we're going to come over here and pop that button. Everything is nice and clear. If we needed to, of course, we could put that in the test mode just to make sure the lights work. We could change the color too if we needed to. I think it's perfectly fine. Now, this aircraft is a lot of airplane. Or helicopter, I should say. And one of the things I love is they give you the GPS right on a little HSI here to make your life a little bit simpler. Also love the fact you can switch this to a different view, which gives you this nice kind of like arc style thing if that's something you're looking for. And they just do a really, really nice job with some of the different components here. I like the fact that basically they have two different buttons for that, but it's the same darn thing. You can turn on traffic, assuming it would be installed. And of course, we have no weather or anything along those lines. It's important to note here, we can actually set our course right here. So for example, if we were going to a specific spot, let's say I want to go nav 1 real quickly here. If I were to go over to it and actually set where I want to go with that, go ahead and right-click that. We'll go 114.90 if I can do it carefully enough. There we go. Click that. Go ahead and right-click that again. Now we can actually pick that up. And we can actually select the course that we wish to operate on. Obviously, we're kind of low, so we're not going to pick that particular course up. But if we were going to do it, my imagination would say that we'd probably be coming somewhere south here. And we can just spin that sucker around. Yeah, you can just see the little white needle just kicked over there. I'm guessing it's going to be roughly right there if I had to guess. But like I said, we can change that mode very quickly too. If we wanted to do a GPS course instead, I can pop over here to GPS. All you have to do is at least tell it where you want to go. So for example, if I'm going to go direct, let's say I want to keep it real easy today. I'm going to do Hartford. Don't forget to shut off that little button before you do that. Enter. And of course, we can press this button here, which won't do anything. It's just a stress button. But this did update quite nicely for us, and it gives us all that critical GPS information. With that taken care of, let's go ahead and release that. Everything's good. I also like to take one quick little look at all of our switches, and now we're ready to kick this thing into the full open position. So I'm going to hold my mouse over this, and I'm just going to roll my mouse wheel towards me once. Do one at a time, please. Give it a second. Give it a second. Give it a second. Give it a second. Go ahead and bring the other one on. Yeah, just like that, you're going to get a couple quick little warnings, and everything's going to be running smoothly. Come down here, RPM is good, torque is good. If you do both at the same time, you basically crank the torque to like 500%. Just be mindful of that. It's just kind of a quirk. All right, this looks good. All this looks good. All this looks good. All this looks good. I like how you can actually like set your warnings and stuff like that. I don't know. I just find that kind of cool. And of course, you can bring it up and down too. And if we had different pages, you can actually come down here and take a look at things like the alternator. You can also see all the status for goes and no goes and things. Like I said, they just did such a nice job getting this little kind of pieces right. I don't know. I find that kind of cool. Everybody's a little different. You can even see your hook load if you want to cry a little bit during your single-player adventures here. That's fine. We're going to go to page 1. Everything looks good here. If I hit this one, I'm curious, does this work on this one? Oh, yes, it does. You can't actually change your EPR here. So notice if I change these values, you can actually change this value dynamically. So for example, if I wanted to say I want to keep it around 2, you could actually set that little bug there to sort of let yourself know that you're 2 there. Kind of keeping it easy. The other thing they do, of course, is kind of give you your fuel bugs. You can see my fuel bugs are pretty darn high. We're not really carrying that much fuel today, which is kind of dumb on my part, because this thing is very hard to fly when it is light. But you could actually come down here and set this, like let's say right here, for example, and that provides you that nice kind of little visual to remind you that you need to set something a specific way. Like I said, just kind of a nice touch. Speaking of which, let's get this thing in the air. Oh my goodness. This is a helicopter that's so large that it even has a second seat that you can actually sit right here and look at the cargo swinging back and forth during single player. I just find that incredible. The rule with this thing is if you're not carrying anything, it's gonna wanna go. And now watch what I mean. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and disengage the parking brakes, hold the brakes regular. All I'm going to do is take my collective and I'm going to push it up about 10%. That's it. See, my torque just came up? All right, so we're sitting here right now at about 20%. So I'll do about 20% torque. So I'm just at 20% torque, right? And you will notice that if I gently go like this, look at that. Look at that. Look. That's insane. So I'm going to push the nose gently forward, easy on the front wheel. And I'm going to go ahead and look at that. And we're in the air. That's it. That's as much as this thing takes to get going. There's not much else to it. And keep in mind, we're nice and light with this thing right now. If we were a little bit heavier, obviously, it'd be a little less sensitive. But I think the thing that will blow you away with this helicopter is how stupid smooth it is. I've flown a lot of helicopters in a lot of games over the air, in case you can tell. Comanche, by the way, Comanche vs. Hokum, in case you're trying to go find the game I played way many years ago. Basically getting an idea of just how incredible this thing is as far as stability goes. I am not having to work very hard in this gentle wind that we have today. So let's go ahead and get our party started here. That was our hover check. By the way, remember, you're very big, so this is actually about 15 feet off the ground, but our wheels are only about 10 feet off the ground. All right, delightful. Getting this thing going, very easy. We're just going to tip forward about that far. Remember, we're super lightly loaded here. This does not take much to get going. Go ahead and get your foot on the right. And you're going to need a little more right pedal than I'm giving it, that's for sure. And that's it. You can see we are very smoothly rolling. Effortlessly smoothly rolling. It takes nothing to get this helicopter going. Now, a quick little word of advice. If you're flying this helicopter unladen like I am. By the way, I didn't touch the collective. We're at 30% collective, and we're ripping right now. Again, this thing is designed to basically, like I said, pick up houses, or at least Winnebagos. So it will go easily. So I'm going to go ahead and take ourselves on course here. I'm going to go swing over to Hartford. Now, we're awfully low, so we might as well gain a little bit of altitude. Now, watch how stupid this thing is. I'm going to go ahead and increase our torque a little bit. Look at that! Do you see that? That's 2,000 feet per minute. And I'm doing 140 knots. What is this thing, a spaceship? Isn't that incredible? Look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that. 1,200 feet. That was with me pushing my stick all the way forward, by the way. You can see how at that weight, this thing, it's a rocket ship. And like, there's nothing like this helicopter as far as, I mean, obviously there's the MI6 if you want to go excessive here. Go bigger, go MI6. But this thing is just insane when you have no weight on it. So you really do have to be mindful of your controls when you're revving around here. So what we're going to do is we're just going to head on down to Hartford. You can see right now I'm cruising well past my maximum speed here. I can actually reduce it. I believe we're at 30% torque here. We're about 20-30% torque. And I can just pull the collective back to about 20%. And even 20% is going to get me 100 knots. Like, it's just, like I said, this is a Gary's Mod helicopter. This isn't a real helicopter. And for those of you who are not familiar with Gary's Mod, by the way, it's basically somebody took the source engine a few years back and said, you know, it'd be cool if people took advantage of all that cool physics stuff and just built things. And it created an interesting breed of people who do things like take a bathtub and put rocket motors on it, because that's what we had. We didn't have a nice flat bar, so we used a bathtub. And you'd stick wheels to it at awkward angles, and you realize how awful that idea was. And, you know, people make aircraft that don't actually fly, and then they make helicopters, basically, that would beat the air into submission like a true helicopter. Stuff like that was just really good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get ready to go ahead and bring this thing for a landing. So we're taking a very short flight there. We're flying into Hartford, Connecticut, so you can see the good old Washington Hartford Airport. Now, with this helicopter, the biggest thing is if you're lightly loaded, let's say you finish that hoist mission, and you're ready to come back in for landing, you have to take your time. And, like, I'm not good at that. I'm not going to lie. I only have so much time in the universe to be doing flight sims or making videos about flight sims. So it kind of limits me a little bit as far as that goes. But when you're coming in, if you start early, you're not going to be stressing out later on. All right, there's our airport. We're going to assume we've got clearance to land. So I'm going to start making my way down. So I'm going to take my elective, and I'm going to reduce it by about 10%. Now, you'll notice there that we went from about 22 to about 19, which is about 10%, which means I can't add. So I'll come down a little bit more. There we go. So that's about 18 from 22. And you'll notice that gets us a very smooth deceleration, a very smooth descent. This thing is so sensitive that just a couple percentages is all it takes to reduce it in order to get it to do what you want it to do. One of the things you'll observe here is at 500 feet per minute, I'm still doing 90 knots. We're basically well past Cessna speed as far as approaches. And yes, you can argue that there are different Cessnas that have different approach speeds, but for the Cessnas that I fly in the real world, this is certainly about approach speed. So you can see we're just kind of settling in here. I'm just holding it basically level right now. Again, quite a bit to the left here. Look at the helicopter from the side. One of the things you'll notice actually the back is the fact that our rotor is not evenly lined up. It's actually biased to the left, and we are actually hanging off the right. And if I switch the helicopter by twisting left and giving a little bit of right foot, I can fly it straight, but what you'll notice here is now everything's all shifted on that side. All right, traffic today is actually pretty good. That's not bad for a Sunday morning. Yeah, is anybody doing the bridge today? Yeah, usually when, see that bridge right there is usually backed up all the way to death. As soon as you get right across the river there into Hartford proper where the tunnel is, it just stops is the best way to describe it. So one of the things I see there is a big scary power tower, which means there are power lines that I can't see. Remember, in the real world, you don't see power lines. You see the little nubs on the power lines. So we want to try to stay above where that power line is. All right, that's delightful. Cool. So now what we're going to do is we're going to line ourselves up for a landing here. Looking out the window there, there's the 3 helipads right there on the right. And all I'm going to do is come around just a little bit. The big thing here is it's all about just settling. So as you can see, we start to get slow. The helicopter starts to get a little sinky. Give it just a little bit of torque. And like when I say a little bit of torque, I mean going from 18 to 22 is going to be enough torque here. You don't have to stand on it. For those of you coming from the Airbus, the H125 here, this must be a bit of a shock to you transitioning to this because of just how much excess torque and how much lift you get out of it. So again, we're doing about 30 knots here. It's turning yellow down there. Now the reason we're in the yellow, of course, is we're getting a little slow. They're just giving you kind of a general warning there. Kind of swing over here. This is where the power plant would be. We can't actually fly this approach that I'm doing right now because we would have smacked into the power plant, but that's okay. Anybody eating lunch? It's a little early for lunch, but people will be sitting right there on the dike enjoying their lunch. All right, there we are. And there we have it. There's our helipads. What we want to do now is we want to line ourselves into the wind. There's basically no wind today. When you do go ahead and make adjustments, remember it's going to take a moment for you to overcome inertia. So when you stomp on it like that, if nothing happens, just wait. And one of the skills you'll learn very quickly is basically, I almost call it like planning ahead with this aircraft. It just makes it easier. All right, there's our lovely 3 helipads. We're going to go for the middle one today. Man, this place is busy today. This side of the airport, by the way, this is the kind of the north side. This is where everybody leaves their airplanes they don't want to talk to anymore. It's always fun. There's always planes with pop tires and like sitting on their tails with no engines. It's just sad. All right. And we're just going to go ahead and let this helicopter settle. You really want to kind of find out what it wants to do before you try to put it on the ground. All right. So we can see here we're just settling into our hover right now. Just again, take your time. Take your time. We're just trying to feel what it wants to do. It's like right now it has kind of a tendency to kind of drift a little bit. And again, that's that gentle turbulence bumping into us. There we go. Just hold it in a hover for a second. We're just studying the ground. Okay, that feels pretty good. Let's go ahead and continue. Keep in mind when we tip forward like that, the whole thing's going to just sort of sink. It's not really going to go for it. The weirdest thing is there's like this little chirping noise. It sounds a lot like a cricket. It makes me crazy. There we go. Mine in the real world, usually the Etna helicopter is right there on my left, so I wouldn't be able to pull this one off like I am today. Now, approach on this thing's a bit of a pain in the ass. Let me show you exactly what I mean. Nope, I said a bad word. Well, demonetized, game over. Now, let me show you why, though. Let me pause right here for just a second. Boop, froze. Now, what you'll notice here is I am still about 15 feet off the ground. Now, the reason that I want to point that out real quickly here is when you make your last couple feet here, you actually can't see very well. In the real world, you actually have a bubble window to make it real easy to kind of look out the window. But if you're not in VR, it actually makes it really, really challenging to do. Whoops. Careful when you press your release pause button there. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to make my way here. Whoa. See, this is what happens when you pause and let go of the controls. Anything that you had set up is not done. Now, the interesting thing is, ask yourself how high off the ground I am right now. Pause again. 5 feet, 10 feet, 20 feet. You will notice I'm about 8 feet off the ground. There's the rotor and ground effect. And we're down, just like that. What we're going to do now is we're going to engage the parking brake. You can see that sets that real quick, makes it a little bit easier for us. Shutdown on this one is a relatively straightforward process. You're going to get a bunch of angry alarms when you do it. That's okay. We have 2 little fuel shutoffs here. All we're going to do is we can go ahead and set those to the off position. And once we've done that, we can actually grab this, pull that off. It's a little awkward to get this thing over the little detent there, but that's okay. With that taken care of, I'm just going to come down here and pop some switches off. Go ahead and get everything off. Just like that, avionics come off. Everything's good to go. Enjoy.